The ADV OU ladder was recently conquered by a particularly sinister team built by the gamer Null. After hitting number 1 with the team, Null made this post entitled Breaking ADV OU, where he actively encourages the ADV OU Council to ban a mechanic the team was built around. And now, that just might happen. As Null explains, the strategies used by this team are uncompetitive and could hope to win over 90% of the time versus other teams considered meta in ADV OU. The post has sparked quite the response from the community, rekindling a debate that has been the subject of multiple rule changes in the past. Since then, several major developments have unfolded, and just yesterday, the ADV Council has announced that there will, in fact, be what is known as a suspect test to determine if this mechanic will finally be banned in ADV. But what is a suspect test? And more importantly, what is this strategy that has the entire community up in arms? In this video, we're going to go over that and much more. But rather than describe this mechanic to you, why don't we just check out one of these replays from Null's post, and you can see for yourself what is going on, and you can decide whether you think this is truly broken. Okay, so we're looking at this player, Abysmal, over here. Okay, they got a Vaporeon, lead Protect Tyranitar, pretty uncommon, but not overly important to what we care about here. Vaporeon is going to substitute as Blissey comes in. This is helpful. This is going to help what is currently happening. Swampert comes in. Okay, we're baton passing to Smeargle. Smeargle is a huge part of the team. Very problematic. We're putting Swampert to sleep with a 100% sleep move in Spore. And now we are going to click the button Dragon Dance. We're going to be getting an additional attack and speed boost. And now we're taunting Skarmory. Corvinus brings Skarmory in to try to phase the Smeargle, to try to click Roar and force Smeargle out to lose the substitute, to lose the Dragon Dance stacks. But because of taunt, non-attacking moves don't work. Because of all of these factors, Abysmal has been able to successfully pass 2 attack boosts and 2 speed boosts to Marowak. Now Marowak effectively outspeeds and one-hit KOs the entire metagame. And that's just it. Corvinus is going to forfeit because the game is literally over. And if you go back and rewatch, like, what were they to do exactly? What was Corvinus meant to do? Well, let's take a look. As explained in Null's post, which I have linked in the description, it's excellent, you should read it yourself. The primary win condition is simply to get Smeargle in front of something that cannot kill it. Here's another replay to illustrate how this strategy works. So long as Smeargle is in front of something that cannot kill it in one hit, it's free to get a Dragon Dance stack. And now it's going to outspeed every Pokemon in the tier. So it's going to move first. It's going to click Spore. Pokefreak 77 is going to put Skarmory to sleep. So now Null, with the Smeargle, is going to be able to click Dragon Dance a second time. Tyranitar is here. And Tyranitar has shown Roar. So Null is going to click Taunt to deny Roar. Roar cannot be used to phase out the boosts. Taunt actually lasts 2 turns, so now Marowak is able to safely acquire both the attack and speed necessary to outspeed and one-shot the entire metagame. Even Melodic, known for being a fantastic wall, is not able to stand up to +2 stab Earthquake. You have to give a lot of credit to Null. This is very creative, and the team is built kind of brilliantly to generate the free turn that Smeargle needs. Vaporeon is used here to sub in front of a lot of things. You can baton pass the sub over to Smeargle. And now this is an even better position than the last replay. You're behind an entire substitute. Milo spends a turn eliminating the substitute, and you can just get your second Dragon Dance stack now. Tank the Surf like earlier, and something's going to get spored. You get to baton pass over to the Marowak right now. Nothing is going to be able to phase you out anyway. And Marowak, like before, is just going to run away with it. Even in examples where Marowak wasn't able to complete a 6-0, in this case, Smeargle ended up getting leech seeded by the Celebi. And if we skip ahead a couple turns here, eventually it gets all the attack and speed it needs. Pooh Complete is forced to switch around as often as possible, trying to predict what move is coming out. Slowly, the Marowak is going to die to leech seed, but inevitably, you can only get so many things right. And this thing is hitting everything so hard, even if you're not guessing perfectly on Null's end. Eventually, the Marowak does fall, but by the time it's over, Null still has more than enough Pokemon in the back to end up winning this one Salamence outspeeds the arrow, and there's the forfeit. One last example here, folks, to illustrate what is perhaps the most frustrating part of Null's team. I actually ran into a very similar team on ladder the other day. Okay, so the worst part is that the best counterplay is to hope that you get really, really good sleep RNG. Here I have Swampert. I'm going to take a Will-O-Wisp. As I click refresh here, they bring Smeargle in. I've got Swampert in front of Smeargle. So I know about the strategy by the time I'm playing this game, and I'm thinking he's probably going to Dragon Dance. I'm going to click Surf and hope I get a crit. If I don't get a crit, I have very poor odds to get out of the situation. And there's really not much else I can do. They get the Dragon Dance. I'm going to click Surf. No crit. It's a 2-hit KO after Sand, okay? But now, they're going to click Spore. I know that they're going to click Spore. Nothing I can do. But because they're faster, I do get to burn a turn of sleep. There's no chance for me to wake up on the very first sleep. So this upcoming turn is my last chance. He's going to Dragon Dance a second stack. I do wake up and I kill the Smeargle and end up winning the game. But I had a 25% chance to wake up on that turn. 75% of the time, I remain asleep, and there's effectively no counterplay because we know that the Smeargle has Taunt. I have a Skarmory with Roar, can't do anything with it. Now, if you've played on the ADVOU ladder recently at all, you've probably run into players using similar speed pass teams yourself, often using Ninjask to safely pass speed to a variety of threats like Snorlax, Marowak, Hariyama, Suicune, and more. And it is very clear that many people simply don't enjoy facing speed pass teams as the games become incredibly linear to play and are considered much less interactive. But I thought that the first sentence of Null's post was quite telling, where he explains that beyond notions of fun or whether you like playing against something like this, the whole point of making the team and topping the ladder was to prove that Speed Pass was broken.
There's a lot of people who want to ban Speed Pass just because they don't like facing it on ladder, which I don't think is really the best way to handle tiering. So earlier this year, I top cut Emerald Open 5, which is the largest ADV draft tour, using Vaporeon, Zapdos, and Marowak. So I was keenly aware of how potent Vaporeon is as an enabler and BP bridge. And what I ended up doing was retrofitting an old DD pass structure with Vaporeon. So my goal at the time was just build something solid that featured Vaporeon. But when I took it on ladder to test, it became quickly apparent that I had stumbled onto something that was kind of broken. And that kicked off the series of events that brings us here today.
Calling the team broken is a pretty bold claim. So I also asked Null if he would seriously consider bringing this team to an important tournament match, and or if he would expect others to do the same. And he told me that a good friend of his already had.
I was building this while I was not in any tours, so I got other people to bring it for me. A player, Spreek, who is one of the great up-and-comers, has 2 wins with it in tours, most notably against Kaboom in the Ruins of Alph Premier League. And I've also given it to Georgie, who uses it just now regularly as a noob stomper in small individual tours. Now, do I expect this to be loaded in future tours? Probably. I'm not exactly the most prolific builder, but I think I've proven that the structure has room for optimization, and there is significant upside to working it out. So I'm sure a better player could take these ideas that I've presented and create a stronger structure. We'll just have to wait and see.
Now, from following the story over the past few weeks, it seems to me that a majority of the community can agree that something should be done about Null's team, but just what exactly should be banned? Should Smeargle plus Dragon Dance be banned? Or would that be fine so long as Smeargle and Taunt are no longer allowed? At the end of Null's post, he suggested a ban on Smeargle running BatonPass at all.
I've intentionally proposed a very limited change to the current rules because I want to go on the record as someone who is staunchly pro Speed Pass, since I think my post will be used as a bludgeon against it. I also want to emphasize I think Agility Pass Zapdos is an important option for spikeless builds, and removing it would completely neuter important counterplay to Arrow and Dugtrio. Spike teams are by far the most dominant structures in ADV, and I don't think we need a tiering change that makes them even stronger. In short, I love this tier, and I like to slice out the uncompetitive strategies while leaving the richness of ADV intact. If it ever comes down to another vote to fully ban Speed Pass, I'd be a confident no.
And for what it's worth, there's already a list of 6 separate BatonPass related restrictions in the tier. You can't run BatonPass with trapping moves like Block, Mean Look, Spiderweb. The anti-phasing move Ingrain and Smeargle is banned. And the entire Pokemon Mr. Mime had to be banned because of its anti-phasing ability in Soundproof. This ever-growing list of complex bans is in part why some in the community want the ADV Council to think bigger when it comes to choosing what to consider banning. Well, not long after Null's team lit the ladder on fire, a post was made on behalf of the ADV OU Council where they said that they want to get people's opinions on Speedpass in general. Not just BatonPass plus this, Smeargle plus that, but any and all Speedpass is what they're thinking of, saying that a suspect would be likely. And to be perfectly clear, folks, a suspect test on Smogon is basically a vote on some policy where the only people who can vote are those who qualify, usually by getting a high enough elo on the ladder or by achieving sufficiently strong tournament placings. It's also worth noting that the council claims that they've actually been working on this for a while and that the timing being so close in proximity to Null's post was merely a coincidence. That said, I do think it's clear that Null's post largely influenced the way a lot of people in the community think about Speedpass's viability and legality. Nevertheless, the announcement of a seemingly inevitable suspect on Speedpass sparked yet more debate, with several community members writing entire essays on the matter, with some such as Lou conceding that while some aspects of the mechanic are broken and probably need taking a look at, other elements of Speedpass are actually healthy for the metagame and provide valuable counterplay to fast metagame warping staples such as Aerodactyl and Doug Trio. I spoke personally with top ADV player and author of this beast of an essay, Fruhdazi, who recently placed incredibly well in the Invitational 2 and is perhaps the most outspoken top player against a Speedpass ban.
Agility Pass Zapdos actually carries Calmine Pass Celebi so hard. Man, it made them all much more effective than it is right now. What you see of Calmine Pass Celebi today is absolutely a shadow of its best self. But after the ban, Spikeless offense kind of started dying, it started being so ass against Fat that you wouldn't really want to play it. It still is ass against Fat. I wouldn't say my teams are good against Fat. That's my main complaint about those things. Like I don't see myself beating Milo, Doug, Friends all that often or all that well, but Agility Pass Zapdos is an option. It really helps beating those two, because then all of a sudden your Tyranitar is not trapped by Dugtrio, your Metagross is not trapped by Dugtrio, your Calmine Jirachi, which would threaten a 6-0 without Dugtrio, is not trapped by Dugtrio with a Speed Pass, and it's difficult to pilot. It's difficult to manage a situation where you can actually pass and break together. And even with Marowak, I would say it's difficult. You have to play the game, is what I'm saying. Unlike those teams where you have the middleman be peers and like they do this chaining thing and they keep negating phasing. So I think the main reason is that taunt is the main way they negate this, because it also negates status.
Others, such as Goldmason in the thread, argued that Speedpass should clearly be banned, linking this replay that you may have seen if you watched the recent Jimothy Cool video on the same subject. Here we can see usually completely irrelevant and never before seen Mawile coming in and keeping a BatonPass chain going, using its unique traits of both Intimidate as an ability and BatonPass to get Smeargle to have a free turn to do additional completely ridiculous stuff. I also was able to speak with Goldmason and top player Mielke to learn more about those in favor of a Speedpass ban.
These strats are enabled not by Ninjask by itself. Ninjask is not the only Pokemon that's doing it, which we've already proven. It's not enabled only by Zapdos, Zapdos Agility. It's not enabled by Smeargle necessarily. I mean, the Smeargle is a bit more consistent because, again, it's 100% to hit for sleep. These strats are still, in my opinion, very cheesy and very degenerate. Speed being able to be passed between Pokemon limits a lot of counterplay from moves like Toxic, a lot of counterplay from moves like Roar, a lot of counterplay from moves like Taunt.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, a lot of people like to say that, the Jonald Mawile team has only been used on ladder or whatever, but I mean, like, people shouldn't be forced to play 100% optimally at every single point and also just know the team off rip to be able to beat these Speedpass strats. I just cannot believe that is a healthy meta.
I did some research in this year's SPL and Gymvite, and I found that the usage of Speedpass was very little. Of course, it's a tool that you can use. I myself have used it a lot in some teams, but there's other ways to punish, especially Doug teams, because Arrow teams already have a bad time facing you because you're often stacking multiple rock resists. Doug trio teams, people will use more some of the stuff that already exists and already abuses those teams, like DD-Mans, Pursuit Tire with Breloom, Bulk on most of your Pokemon so you can trade down with Doug, Agility Meta, and stuff like that.
Now, before we get to the recent decision announced by the ADV OU Council, I think it's worth mentioning that Speedpass literally is banned in every other OU format, aside from GSC. In GSC, it's chill. You can Speedpass, you just can't have BatonPass alongside Mean Look or Spiderweb. In DP and Black and White, Dry Pass is okay. You cannot use it in combination with any move, item, or ability that can raise your stats and or with any trapping moves. Black and White, same thing. A Pokemon with BatonPass may not boost its stats. Folks, ever since Gen 6, X and Y, you cannot click the button BatonPass whatsoever. It's completely banned in Gen 6, 7, 8, and 9. So knowing that Speedpass has been banned nearly everywhere else, why has it been legal in ADV? Well, as it turns out, Speedpass has been looked at before. In fact, as recently as late 2023, the council did have a suspect test for Speedpass, determining at that time that a supermajority of 60% or more of the qualified voters were going to be necessary in order to ban it. And depending on who you ask, fortunately or unfortunately at that time, while a majority was reached, they were unable to hit the necessary threshold of 60%, and thus Speedpass was not banned at that time. For the purposes of this discussion, the other main decision I think you all should be aware of happened back in 2021 when a suspect test concerning BatonPass happened, and voters were allowed to vote of basically a list of their preferences among 5 separate options. In the end, it was determined that the option now known as the ABR clause would be passed, limiting one form of stat boosting alongside BatonPass across the entire team. But the main reason that I brought this up is because alongside passing this policy, which was voted on democratically by those who qualified to vote, the council took it upon themselves to also implement 3 additional policies. They removed existing clauses and bans that I guess they determined that because of the implementation of this policy, these ones would no longer be necessary. And this is the big one here, folks. Smeargle cannot BatonPass as a policy was removed. 2 years earlier, there was a ban on, you guess it, more BatonPass stuff. And at that time, in 2019, the voters determined 2 things. They determined that BatonPass would be limited to 3 total members of a team, and that Smeargle would not be able to run it. So this decision 2 years later, upon implementing the ABR 1 total form of stat boosting clause, this has been referred to, folks, as a shadow unbanning of Smeargle plus BatonPass that not everybody agreed with at the time and still don't. I've been told by multiple people that this is one of several decisions that over the years has inspired doubt in the hearts of some community members that the ADV Council or the higher-ups at Smogon are truly representing the best interests of ADV at large.
Smeargle with BatonPass was not meant to be unbanned. It was shadow unbanned by the council. We did not vote on this.
Right.
For years we said, no, we do not want this. It was unbanned without our consent as a community. And we are only at this right now because BP Smeargle is unbanned. I am a firm believer of this. If BP Smeargle wasn't unbanned, we probably wouldn't be here.
So now what? Where are we? As I alluded to in the beginning of this video, just yesterday the ADVOU Council announced that there is a suspect test for Speedpass happening yet again. Yes, the second one in under 2 years. If you're not one of these 28 people who have already qualified as a result of excellent tournament placings, you will have to create a new account and you will have to get an ELO of 1700 with a GXC of 82 in order to qualify. If, like me, you thoroughly enjoyed watching Jimothy try to get requirements for the recent Gen 4 OU Machamp suspect test.
Paralysis! Full paralysis again! Oh, how delightful! I mean, I'm worth less than dirt with such a GXC.
The GXE here is probably going to be the hardest part. The deadline to get requirements is the end of the month, which coincides really well, honestly, with the recently announced ADV Revival 3 tournament that's going to be happening. Check out the Revival Tournament server, which I will link in the description to sign up for that tournament. I would encourage you to do so. And for what it's worth, I've been told that, yet again, the threshold to ban Speedpass is going to be a supermajority vote of 60%. What will end up happening is anybody's guess, but I will leave you with one last thing I learned from my conversation with Goldmason that I really think that everybody should be keeping in mind throughout the rest of this process.
As far as what's going to happen, I think that we're going to have a Speedpass suspect, and I hope that people end up voting ban on Speedpass, because this is probably the last time we will have incremental action available on BatonPass. I think that if this fails, then the next time we see something ridiculous come up with BatonPass, it will be StatPass ban, yes or no. And that will be your only options.
Wow.
And I don't really want to see StatPass go.
Now, while that was merely speculation by Goldmason, he does kind of know the ADV Council and the tiering authorities at Smogon as well as or better than basically anybody in the community. So if you're of the opinion that a Speedpass ban is the best available option, this may be the last chance that the ADV community has to implement that change. Now, I personally love Dry Pass and its place in the ADV metagame. I would really hate to see the move BatonPass be banned completely. And I do sympathize for those who want to preserve agility Zapdos structures, but I'd be willing to accept those teams as unfortunate collateral damage if it meant I didn't have to play against freaking Ninjask players ever again. So let me know what you think. Should Speedpass be banned? Will it be banned? And subscribe to the channel to stick along with further developments in the ADV community, as well as coverage of the upcoming ADV Revival 3 tournament starting on September 1st. And finally, check the description below where I've linked several posts and videos that are well worth your time if you want to dive deeper into the weeds of this issue.